I guess one thing that I asked, which wasn't touched on, was a business park for the Sutherland Shire. So is that something, I guess, you can take as a question and come back to us, or are there things happening, or is there anything positive to report about that issue?
I'll start, and Eleni and Lee will follow if necessary. Look, I think with a business park, that will depend where our sub-regional plan ends up. At least two possibilities are the Toyota site down at Woolooware Bay and the Kurnell Peninsula, the Besmore land. Probably within months rather than years, we'll have a sub-regional strategy which will give us an idea of what's happening on the Kurnell Peninsula and what use that 170 hectares or so of the Besmore land can be put to. It's really more subject to that and the Department of Planning and Environment talking to the council about that strategy. It's really more for the council to make sure there's enough employment land zoned in the Shire, because we've lost Caltex, we've lost Continental Carbon, we're losing Toyota, we lost the fisheries. So there's been quite a drain of employment away in the last few years. I don't think somewhere like the Toyota site, for example, I don't think we need more high-rise density housing there, particularly as it's not readily accessible by public transport. That would be an ideal site for some business opportunities or an educational facility or a mix of both. Probably at this end of the Shire, the Besmore land represents the best chance, and maybe Lee might want to comment on what's happening at Lucas Heights, Barton Ridge.
As you might be aware, there's a development going ahead up, I think it's Garrangarrow land, but it's called Heathcote Ridge, which always confused the hell out of it because it's actually in Holsworthy. But there is a mooted industrial estate going along the Heathcote Road, and that's part of it is to protect against fire, which is, again, probably a bit dubious as far as somebody moving in there, but that's part of their reason, is that they're going to have a barricade of industrial buildings along Heathcote Road to protect the houses, so when the fires come through the army camp unstopped, it'll shoot straight across the road and hit the concrete backs of concrete walls. So that's one of the mooted things. There's also something which I don't want to delve into, but there was some possibilities of doing some scientific stuff out near Anstow, which would be fantastic, because it's sort of linking in that the science that they're doing out there and commercialising it, and that's a fantastic opportunity. That's still on the back burner at the moment, but apparently it's taking a few steps forward. But there's not much available as far as lands available through the Heathcote area. The ideal, obviously, for anybody is to say, yes, we need to keep more people working within the Sutherland Shire. I honestly think that businesses these days, and I've got a lot of them down the coast, I've got some multi-millionaires that do everything from their front room. So, they're futures traders, and they all drive Maseratis and Aston Martins, so they must be doing all right. So, but they don't live Austin. So it's a pretty that sort of business is available to people, and if we can encourage people to do e-commerce from their own home, it's probably one of the easiest ways of making a good living.
My final comment is that both of the gentlemen here have already discussed the planning constraints. It is an idea which I am personally supportive of. I've said I'm personally supportive of it in the past, and it was this forum 6 months ago. But it's ultimately not an issue for the state government. It's something that we'd need to work with other people with. And, I still remain committed to the idea of seeing progress on it, but we do have things which are beyond our immediate control at this point.
Thanks. And I guess from a business chamber perspective, we would be supportive of assisting in any way we can as far as working with local, state and federal government to make that happen, not only to keep jobs here, but to encourage people from outside the area to come and work here. I know it's a radical idea, but... Now, is there any other questions?
Speaking about business development in the Shire, one of the things we've tossed around for a number of years now has been the actual movement of government divisions and departments into the Shire. Can you hear me? Yep. To move state government departments into the Shire to provide employment in the Shire in a large degree. So there's been a huge migration out to the west and development of the west. So what is the future speculation for the state government to actually locate government departments here in the Shire and provide further employment for people on a large scale here?
Given that you have a department, it's all yours.
Look, to answer Terry's question, I wouldn't say there's been a huge migration to Western Sydney, but obviously there's kind of continual drift to Parramatta or Penrith. We had a discussion, we meet periodically or regularly with Melanie and Mark Kuro. We had a discussion the other day about this. We're keen to put pressure on our colleagues to get government officers out here. Being realistic, I think our best chance is to support Mark Kure and get offices in Hurstville, which would still be pretty convenient for Shire residents to commute to within half an hour. It's a major centre. I can see you screwing your face. But often politics is about achieving what you can, and I think getting a government office in a major centre like Hurstville is probably going to be easier to achieve than having it at Miranda or Sutherland. As distinct from a service centre, I mean, we're establishing Service New South Wales as a service centre in Miranda with extended trading hours and collectively more employees than you have at the moment in the motor registries in Engadine and Miranda. But that's a service centre. But in terms of a back office operation, I think we've probably got a better chance of getting things done in Hurstville. Maybe Sutherland.
Is there a likelihood of that?
Oh, there's certainly a strong likelihood that we'll keep lobbying for it. I don't know where, well, more than a likelihood, an absolute assurance.
Remember years ago when the RTA moved from Rosebery into the city, like there were hundreds of people in that building. So something like that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
We're talking about high rise in Sutherland Centre.
Look, you're right. I'm just sort of saying what I think the facts of life are, that it's easier to get it done in Hurstville than... And look, you know, if you lived in Caringbah, Hurstville's a lot more attractive than the city. But look, we're certainly lobbying hard for it, but I don't want to create unrealistic expectations. And just to get some more jobs in Hurstville would be, in my view, a win when there's a constant pressure to, you know, put everything out in Parramatta and Penrith. And as I was perhaps touching on before, one of the key things we have to do in the Shire, both with the Department of Planning and Environment and its strategy and in conjunction with the Council and its LEP, is to make sure we've got as much employment land here as we can, and not just more and more residential infill, although for the reasons that Lee has... Still got a nose? For the reasons that Lee articulated, and Eleni touched on as well, we're going to have 60,000 more people living in southern Sydney in the next 20 years, and we have to accommodate them somewhere in an affordable and amenable, environmentally sustainable way.
And provide employment.
Since his hand nearly landed in my face, I'll add this. We did say to Mark when we were having this discussion, the easiest thing to do was make him move his department, but he didn't go for that.
I might say that's because they're already committed to moving out to Parramatta, and before I came on board.
I've got a question up there. Can you yell?
Yeah, I'll yell. This is to Mark. It's probably something simple. I raised it here a year ago with Bluestone with the development. Unfortunately, I don't drive any major roads to and from work, but every now and then I actually have to venture over the bridge and come home. Gannon's Road is an absolute nightmare. You know, that's another half hour of the journey. Why didn't I know they didn't widen it at the point up there, Mark? Can anything be done about that now to improve the transportation in the Shire? Because it's just going to get worse with this development here.
Look, you're right. Look, it's unfortunate that it wasn't done when the line was duplicated in the last decade. It'll cost a lot more now to retrofit it. It's certainly on the shopping list. And one thing I'm very conscious of is there's not much point having an F6 or an M1, a lovely motorway that you can get onto at outside Flower Power, if that's the way it goes, but it takes you half an hour to get there from Caringbah or Cronulla.
I just had a quick question, Joanne. You brought up earlier on, I was at the meeting 6 months ago, but you mentioned that word Tarrant Point when you talked about telecommunications. And to me, being in the IT game, it's one of the major issues that I have with my clients is being able to get good, reliable broadband internet in that whole sort of Miranda to Tarrant Point area, if possible. That one didn't get discussed during the session about how we were addressing that, or is that not a state issue?
Strictly speaking, it's a federal issue. The state government has looked at making improvements in regional areas, but I am the state member for Tarrant Point, and I don't really have anything to contribute on that specific issue at this point in time, but it's something that we can definitely take on board and make representations to the various ministers about trying to get looked at in the future.
Well, it's certainly harming occupancy in that area, in that industrial and business area. It's certainly harming from my customers' point of view, harming their ability to perform their tasks in an efficient way by having internet that's worse than it would be out the bush.
Yeah, we'll take that on board and feed your comments and your concerns back to the respective ministers.
Mark, you spoke about the sub-regional plan, and we heard about what the Chamber can contribute, but how can we individually contribute our views, the importance of, like you've heard around the table here, and your view as well about the importance of employment land, and that's the one, I guess, one of the major possible spots for it, but to provide the voice from, I guess, individual constituents or other groups, how can we contribute to the plan and the formulation of it?
Well, most of the consultation was done last year. It's not too late. If you want to put a proposal or any submissions together, let me know. But speed is of the essence at the moment.
Okay, if we can all just thank our panel this afternoon for... I'll just hand over to our Vice President Mark Hooper now, who's just going to talk a bit about our October meeting and what he's coordinating for that.
Okay, hello. I guess this is relevant as well to the panel because one of the things we're noticing is youth underemployment and unemployment is a very large level at the moment. It depends on whose stats you use, but somewhere around about 30%, so it's 3 in 10 young people under the age of 24 are not in their employment of choice. So they're either part-time employed or they're unemployed or they're just sitting at home with their parents. And as a chamber, I think it's important that we play our part, as it is the state government plays theirs and the federal governments and also local government. And so to kick that along a little bit, the next breakfast meeting, which is on the 21st of October in this room at 7 o'clock for a 7:30 start, we're going to get some people to come in and do not really a round table, but have an open discussion about how we can generate employment in the Shire. And I think one of the things that we've been talking about here, but we haven't really said is, you know what, it's going to mean that business and government at all levels have to really start thinking about the Sutherland Shire as more than a place for residential people and a couple of small businesses operating an e-commerce application. You know, and I am in Tarrant Point, and I can tell you what, if you wanted to operate an e-commerce company out of Tarrant Point, it'd be a waste of time. The infrastructure there is hopeless. You'd move somewhere else. So I think as a group, we need to start taking that on board. So I'm looking forward to some lively discussion about that on next month. I'd really encourage you to come along with some ideas. This is not a presentation day, although there will be people here that they're experts in the field. So we're looking to get some people from tertiary education, some people from high school type education, and also some people from the business chamber who's also just run a round table on this and are about to put forward a proposal to government, I assume. But I'd be interested actually just to, as a sort of question without notice, developing opportunities for young people how can the business community help the state government do that?
Who wants to take that?
I'll answer.
Look, perhaps nobody wants to answer that. So, look. Philosophically, I think the starting point is you create the jobs, not the state government. And the best thing the state government can do is get off your back, get rid of unnecessary regulation, and set the general parameters of the market. The next thing the government can do is make sure we've got appropriate skills training. There's been a lot of controversy about TAFE in the last 12 and 24 months, but the reality is we are spending more on vocational education than we ever have. We're spending more on TAFE than we ever have. There are more TAFE and vocational education training places than there ever have been. We've got a skills board that has determined where the government subsidies will be, so that we are tailoring it to the skills that are needed rather than ceramics courses, which might be intellectually stimulating but not terribly useful out in the workforce. What can you do to help us? You can just go about creating business, conducting your business, making a profit, employing people. You don't need to. If you aim to conduct your business as efficiently, as effectively as possible, motivated by making a profit, that's the best thing you can do, because that's what will create sustainable jobs, not artificial work schemes. That's the best thing that can create a job, is sustainable profitability, which is basic business common sense.
Okay, thank you for that, and you're more than welcome to come next month. Alrighty, so look, Joe, nothing else, right? So look, I'd just like to thank the panel again for being here. I'd like to thank all of you for coming along. It's always, this is really an opportunity for us all to get together and discuss things. So I think we've got a few more minutes to do that with, so enjoy yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you again next month.